In the dark sky above Varnuk 7, warships burned like falling stars. Explosions flashed across the surface. The planet groaned under the weight of two mighty armies. One belonged to the Zarkari Empire, led by the feared Queen Tishal. The other was humanity. The Zarkari were strong. Their weapons were advanced. Their army stretched across hundreds of systems. They ruled with power and pride. No species had ever stood against them for long. Until the humans came. Humans were new to the galaxy. No one took them seriously at first. Their ships were smaller. Their tech was weaker. But humans had something the Zarkari didn't expect. They were impossible to break. Every time the Zarkari crushed a unit, another human team pushed forward. Every time they destroyed a ship, 10 more appeared. They fought with fire, not fear. And at the center of the human resistance was one man. Captain Mason Rourke. Rourke was not the biggest. Not the strongest. But his soldiers followed him into fire because he never gave up. He didn't know how to lose. The Zarkari feared him. They called him the Ghost in Black. Wherever he went, their forces fell. But this story isn't about war. It's about something no one saw coming. High above the battlefield, on the Zarkari flagship, Queen Tishal stood still. Her throne room shook from distant blasts. Her long silver crown glowed in the dim light. She was calm. Always calm. Until a whisper changed everything. A royal guard ran in. His armor was dented. His voice shook. "Your Majesty, the heirs are missing." Queen Tishal blinked. "That is not possible. We checked the chamber. The guards were at their post. But the younglings are gone. 2 heirs. Her twin children. The future of the empire. Gone." For the first time in her long reign, the queen showed fear. Her claws gripped the edge of her throne. Her wings twitched. She gave one command. "Lock down the planet. Find them." Back on the surface of Varnuk 7, the war still raged. But one man moved through the ruins alone. Captain Rourke was injured. His leg was bleeding. His armor cracked. His team had been separated during the last blast. Now he was crawling through the wreckage, trying to reach the extraction point. Then he heard it. A sound high and sharp. Like crying. Rourke stopped. He listened again. The sound came from under a collapsed structure. A broken wing of a Zarkari transport ship. Carefully, he pulled away the metal. Dust filled the air. The ground shifted. And there, in the middle of the debris, were 2 small shapes. Tiny creatures. Purple skin. Soft scales. 4 bright eyes. Zarkari infants. The royal markings were clear. These weren't just any children. They were the queen's heirs. The little ones hissed at him. One tried to crawl back into the hole. The other stared at Rourke with wide, blinking eyes. He could have left them. He was a soldier. They were the enemy. But he didn't move away. Instead, he took off his helmet. The wind blew dust through his short black hair. Blood ran down his cheek. He looked at the children, then reached into his pouch and pulled out a small ration bar. He broke off a piece. Placed it on the ground. The curious one sniffed it. Tasted it. Then the other crawled forward. They were scared. But hungry. Rourke watched them. They looked nothing like human children. But he saw something in their eyes, something simple. Fear. Need. Innocence. He sighed. "You picked the wrong battlefield to crawl into, kids." He scanned the area. No movement. No gunfire. The storm above was moving away. He knew he couldn't carry both. Not with a broken leg. So he sat down, leaned back against the metal, and let them crawl into his lap. He wrapped his arms around them. His armor still carried warmth from the heat of the blast. The children curled up, soft and quiet. They stopped crying. And then, they slept. Rourke closed his eyes too. For a moment, the war was gone. But the peace didn't last. From above, a Zarkari drone spotted the heat signature. It sent an alert. Coordinates locked. The Queen's Guard would be there in minutes. What they found would shake the Empire. The mighty human warrior, the one they were taught to kill on sight, was sitting in the rubble. Unarmed. Injured. Holding the royal heirs like a father holds his children. The Zarkari guard ship landed with a loud hiss. Its legs crushed broken stone as it touched down near the ruined sector. Inside, 4 elite guards waited. Their armor glowed with blue energy. Their orders were clear. Retrieve the heirs. Kill the human if he resists. They stepped out, weapons ready. Their scanners locked on the heat signal 30 meters ahead. The area was quiet. No movement. No sign of troops. But then they saw him. Captain Mason Rourke. Sitting in the shadow of a fallen ship wing. His leg was twisted under him. His armor scratched and scorched. Blood on his face. His head leaned against the metal wall. His eyes were closed. And resting on his chest, were the heirs. The guards froze. They did not expect this. One of the heirs stirred. It looked up and made a soft noise. A chirp. Rourke opened one eye. His hand moved slightly, protectively, over the tiny body. Easy now, he said, voice dry. They're sleeping. The lead guard took a step forward. Release them. Rourke didn't move. You try pulling them off me. See what happens. The second heir woke up. It blinked. Then hissed at the guard sharp and loud. The guards glanced at each other. The younglings weren't scared of the human. They were scared of them. Above, a royal cruiser hovered in silent flight. Queen Tishul watched the scene through the ship's viewfeed. Her sharp eyes narrowed. Her wings shifted behind her. She saw her heirs alive. Safe. With him. She gave the order. I'm coming down. Minutes later, the air grew thick. Heat shimmered around the landing zone. The Queen's personal ship touched the ground like a shadow with wings. Her guards lined up as she stepped out. She was taller than any soldier. Her armor was smooth, glowing silver. Her crown curved like a blade. Her voice was calm but cold enough to freeze fire. The guards moved aside as she approached the human. Rourke didn't stand. He couldn't. He just watched her. The heirs looked up and chirped. Then, they hid behind Rourke's arm. The Queen stopped. Her own children were afraid of her. Afraid of the guards. But not the human who had fought their empire. Her eyes met his. What did you do to them? She asked. Rourke coughed, trying not to laugh. I saved their lives. There was silence. The Queen didn't speak. She didn't blink. Then, slowly, she stepped forward. She knelt. It shocked her guards. No Zarkari ruler ever bowed. But this was different. She reached out her hand. The smallest heir looked at it. Then at Rourke. He nodded. Go on. She's your mom. The heir crawled into her arms. The other followed. The Queen held them both close. Her breath trembled. Not with fear. With something older. Deeper. Relief. She turned her eyes back to the human. You protected them. Even though you are my enemy. They're just kids, Rourke said. War doesn't care who it hurts. But I do. One of the guards spoke. Shall we end him now, Majesty? The Queen did not answer. She looked down at the human soldier. The one who should have been her prisoner. Her enemy. Her prey. But he had done something no one else had. He had shown mercy. To her blood. To her future. She stood tall. No. He comes with us. The guards stared. Majesty. He is under my protection. Treat him with honor. And so, for the first time in Zarkari history, a human was brought aboard the royal ship not as a prisoner, not in chains but as a guest. A soldier. A protector. A guardian of the heirs. Inside the Queen's ship, Rourke was given medical care. His leg was wrapped. His blood cleaned. The heirs stayed close, refusing to leave his side. When the doctors approached, they hissed. Only when Rourke spoke did they calm down. It's okay. They're here to help. The Queen watched all of it. Silently. Carefully. She realized something in that moment. Her children had bonded with this man. They trusted him in a way they did not trust even her. And for that, she owed him more than gratitude. She owed him peace. Captain Mason Rourke had been in many strange places. Frozen moons. Burning battlefields. Abandoned alien ships. But nothing was stranger than this. He was now inside the royal palace of the Zarkari Empire. Not as a prisoner. Not in a cell. But in a soft bed, with royal guards posted outside his door. And 2 tiny alien heirs curled up beside him. The room was quiet. Light glowed from the ceiling like soft stars. The air smelled like something sweet, almost like flowers, but sharper. Rourke sat up slowly. His body still ached, but his leg was healing fast. Zarkari medical tech was no joke. One of the heirs, a little one with 4 eyes and a toothy smile, crawled onto his lap and made a happy chirp. The other rolled over and wrapped a small tail around Rourke's arm. He sighed. Guess I'm not going anywhere, huh? Outside the door, 2 Zarkari guards stood stiff as stone. They didn't like this. A human in the palace? Near the royal bloodline? It felt wrong. But they had orders. From the Queen herself. Protect him. At all costs. And no one questioned the Queen. Queen Tishul sat in her private chamber. Alone. Her claws tapped slowly on the metal table beside her. She had ruled for decades. Fought wars. Crushed rebellions. Broken alliances. But never had something like this happened. A human soldier, her enemy, had risked his life to protect her children. Not for reward. Not for politics. Just because it was right. That kind of loyalty couldn't be trained. It couldn't be bought. It had to be earned. And he had earned it. The palace council was not pleased. They gathered in the high chamber, voices raised. He's dangerous. He's a spy. He should be removed. But the Queen raised one hand. Silence fell. He saved my heirs. When no one else could. Or would. He's still human, one shouted. He's a threat to the throne. She looked around the room. Her eyes sharp as blades. My children trust him. That is enough for me. End of discussion. Later that day, the Queen visited Rourke. He stood when she entered, though his leg still hurt. The heirs squeaked happily and ran to her. She picked them up with care, then looked at the man who had changed everything. You're healing well, she said. Your doctors do good work, he replied. They say you'll walk in 2 days. Maybe 3. I'm a slow healer. She smiled just a little. The first smile she had shown in weeks. I have a question for you, Captain Rourke. He nodded. Ask away. Why did you protect them? You knew who they were. I did. You could have used them. As a shield. As leverage. I could have. But you didn't. Why? Rourke looked down at the floor. Because they're just kids. Lost. Scared. Doesn't matter where they're from. Doesn't matter who their parents are. Even if their parent is your enemy. Especially then. He looked up at her. If we keep acting like enemies forever, someone has to break the cycle. She stared at him. No words. Only silence. That night, she stood over her children while they slept. Their soft breathing filled the room. One still clutched a small scrap of Rourke's uniform, refusing to let it go. Peace was a word thrown around too often. Used in treaties. Stamped on paper. But here, in this quiet moment, Queen Tishul felt something close to it. And it came from an enemy's courage. The next day, the Queen made an announcement. To her empire. To her generals. To the galaxy. The war with Earth is over. I offer peace. And I offer it with full honor. The message shocked the stars. All because of one human. A soldier who chose to protect instead of destroy. And in the palace halls, people began to whisper. Not in fear. But in awe. He's the human who held the royal heirs. The one they call guardian. The warrior with a heart. Captain Mason Rourke stood on the balcony of the Zarkari Palace. The view stretched for miles: silver towers, glowing bridges, and the soft shimmer of flying transports in the sky. It was peaceful. Too peaceful for a soldier. But something in him had changed. Maybe it started when the heirs first curled up on his chest. Maybe it started when the Queen chose peace instead of revenge. Either way, he was no longer just a fighter. He was now something else. Something harder. He was a protector. The twin heirs Zani and Threx, as Rourke had learned, followed him everywhere. They crawled up his boots when he tried to walk. They chirped loudly when he left a room. They slept at his side, clinging to his arm like it was a lifeline. And for reasons he couldn't fully explain, he let them. He even started talking to them. Telling them stories. Human stories. Old Earth war legends, told with soft words and quiet smiles. They didn't understand every word. But they listened. They always listened. Sometimes, they laughed. Sometimes, they just stared at him like he was the only safe place in the galaxy. Not everyone was happy. Deep inside the Zarkari Military Council, one general paced in anger. General Vorex had fought humans since the first contact. He lost soldiers. He lost ships. He lost respect. And now, the Queen welcomed a human into the palace. Called off the war? Let that human touch the royal heirs? This is madness, he growled. She's letting her guard down. He stared at a hollow image of Rourke, surrounded by the twin heirs. No more. Back at the palace, Queen Tishul met with Rourke again. She walked beside him in the royal gardens. The air smelled of sweet iron and warm leaves. The trees hummed softly, a natural vibration from the Zarkari soil. They like you, she said. Rourke looked down. Zani was chewing on a strap of his armor. Yeah, I noticed. They bonded to you. Emotionally. It's rare for Zarkari younglings. Maybe they just think I'm warm. She paused. Or maybe, they know what you are. What's that? A shield. One they trust more than anyone else. Rourke looked away. He didn't know what to say to that. That night, the palace lights dimmed early. A security update flickered across the systems. Nothing strange. Just a quiet reminder to update defensive grids. But outside the palace walls, something moved. A black transport ship. No markings. No beacon. Silent as death. Inside were 6 elite Zarkari assassins. Trained to remove threats quietly. Their mission, extract the human. Alive or dead. The first alarm tripped just past midnight. A flicker in the outer wall sensors. Too small for guards to notice. But not too small for Rourke. He woke instantly. The heirs stirred beside him. He pressed a finger to his lips. Stay quiet. Then he moved. Even with an injured leg, Rourke was dangerous. He pulled on his armor, grabbed the pulse blade gifted by the Queen's captain, and slipped into the hall. He didn't wait for backup. He found the first assassin near the training courtyard crawling along the ceiling, silent as a shadow. One strike. Fast. Clean. The assassin fell. The second came from behind. Too slow. Rourke slammed him into the wall and took his weapon. By the time the palace guards arrived, 3 more were already down. The 6th tried to escape. He didn't make it far. Rourke stood over him. Who sent you? The assassin hissed, bleeding. The Empire deserves a real future, not one raised by a human. In the throne room, Queen T shall read the report. 6 assassins. All trained by Zarkari Special Ops. All acting without her orders. She turned to her war council. Who among you doubts me? Silence. Who among you gave the kill order? Still silence. But she saw the fear in their eyes. The doubt. The hate. It was not gone. It had only gone underground. And it had just tried to take her children. Later that morning, Rourke stood outside the royal nursery. He looked tired. But his hands were steady. Queen T shall stood beside him. You didn't have to fight for them again. They're mine to protect, he said. Why? You could have walked away. Because they trusted me first. And I won't let them down. She looked at him for a long time. Then she gave a quiet order to her guards. Bring the formal seal. Rourke turned, confused. What's that? It's what we give to those we name as family. The golden chamber doors opened with a low hum. Captain Mason Rourke stood still as 2 Zarkari guards stepped forward. Between them, on a red velvet pillow, rested a strange object shaped like a coin, but glowing softly with green light. The Queen watched from her throne. Rourke raised an eyebrow. What is that? Queen T shall rose. Her silver robes shimmered under the lights. It's called the life mark, she said. Very few have received it. And now you're giving it to me. I'm not just giving it to you, Captain. I'm binding it to you. Rourke didn't speak. He just watched as the Queen walked down the steps, holding the coin in both hands. In Zarkari tradition, she explained, this mark means one thing: you are chosen. You are kin. You are under royal protection, and you are responsible for royal blood. She looked him in the eye. You are more than a guest now. You are guardian of the heirs. Rourke didn't take this lightly. He had worn many titles: captain, soldier, commander. But this was different. This wasn't just a symbol. It was trust. Real trust. Given to him by a species who once tried to kill every human they saw. As the life mark was placed in his palm, the green glow faded and then pulsed, once. Bound. It could not be removed. Not by force. Not by time. It was part of him now. Queen T shall stepped back. You may leave at any time, Captain. But as long as you wear that mark, this empire will protect you as one of its own. He looked down at the mark. Then up at the Queen. Then past her where Zani and Threx peeked from behind a curtain, chirping with excitement. He smiled. Guess I'm not leaving. Word spread quickly. Throughout the Zarkari Empire, citizens whispered. The human bears the life mark. He is bonded to the throne. Is it true he fought 6 assassins alone? Some were angry. Some were curious. But many were starting to believe. Maybe peace with humans was possible. Maybe the soldier, this guardian, wasn't a threat. Maybe he was hope. But not all were convinced. Far from the capital, in a shadowed bunker on the edge of Zarkari space, General Vorex watched the news feed with cold eyes. She gave it to him, he muttered. She gave our sacred mark to an outsider. Around him, loyalists stood in silence. They didn't cheer for peace. They wanted war. They believed the human was a trick. A weakness. A ticking bomb. And Vorex? He had a plan. Back in the palace, life changed for Rourke. He was given new chambers, close to the royal nursery. He trained daily with the Queen's honor guard. He learned Zarkari customs. Their food. Their language. And at night, he read Earth bedtime stories to two alien children who now called him Ra. Their version of Dad. He never corrected them. One evening, the Queen joined him on the garden balcony. The heirs were asleep nearby, curled under soft blankets, dreaming quietly. She looked at Rourke. You've changed them. They changed me first. She smiled, something she now did more often around him. You could go home, you know. Earth would welcome you as a hero. Earth's never seen me as a hero, Rourke said. Just a weapon. And here, I'm something else. You're needed. I'm trusted. But just as peace began to feel real, something shattered it. A warning light flashed in the Queen's private chamber. An encrypted message. From a secret Zarkari outpost. It read. Loyalist fleet preparing to launch. Target, Earth. Code name, Cleansing Flame. Her eyes widened. If Earth was attacked now, they'd blame her. Blame the Empire. The treaty would fall apart. War would return. And this time, it would burn everything. She ran to Rourke. We have a problem. He read the message. His hands clenched. Who's behind it? Vorex. He has support. And the fleet. 3 days until launch. Then we don't have much time. He turned to her. We stop this together. Not as enemies. Not as allies. Then how? As family. The war was supposed to be over. But now, deep in the void of space, another war was about to begin. General Vorex had moved in silence. While the Queen built peace, he built a fleet. Dozens of warships. Hidden factories. Silent agreements with old enemies. And now they were ready. Their target? Earth. Their goal? Total destruction. He called the Operation Cleansing Flame. Back in the Zarkari Royal Palace, Captain Mason Rourke stared at the blinking hollow map. The Queen stood beside him, hands clenched behind her back. The room was empty. Only the two of them. And the secret that could destroy everything. This isn't a raid, Rourke said. It's an extermination plan. I know, the Queen replied. He thinks Earth is weak. That they'll panic. Strike first. End the treaty. He's not wrong. Earth doesn't forget betrayal. She turned to him. Then we must stop the fleet before it reaches them. But it wasn't so simple. Vorex had loyalists spread across 3 systems. The Queen's own military was split. Half of her admirals still didn't trust humans. She couldn't attack the rogue fleet directly, not without triggering civil war. Rourke had a different idea. Let me go. Alone. Not alone. With a team. Small. Fast. Off the books. What will you do? Get aboard one of the ships. Get proof. And if I can, disable the command structure. The Queen hesitated. If you fail. Then I fail doing what I was trusted to do. Protect both our futures. She looked into his eyes. This was not a soldier talking. This was a guardian. And guardians didn't run from fire. They ran into it. The next morning, Rourke prepared to leave. Zani and Threx clung to his arms, chirping sadly. One of them shoved a soft toy into his pack, a tiny stuffed creature with 4 ears and no name. Rourke didn't have the heart to remove it. He knelt down. "I'll be back soon, little ones. You keep Mom safe, all right?" they squeaked. The Queen watched from a distance. Then stepped forward and handed him a ring, a thin black band etched with a single glowing line. "Press this if you're captured. It sends your exact location, and burns whatever you're carrying." "Smart," Rourke said. "Don't make me use it." He gave her a nod. Then boarded the unmarked transport and disappeared into space. They called themselves Spectre Team. 4 Zarkari operatives. 1 human. Each of them had seen war. Each of them had doubts. But orders were orders, and Rourke had been personally chosen by the Queen. Still, trust came slowly. Especially when he gave the first command. "We hit the shipyards at the edge of Kavir Belt. Slip in during a fuel run. No alarms. No killing unless necessary." The team leader, a scarred Zarkari named Vasha, narrowed her eyes. "And if they catch us? Then we don't get caught." The mission started smooth. The Spectre ship floated quietly near the edge of the enemy fleet. Disguised signals. Masked engine trail. 0 emissions. They docked with the cargo transport and slipped aboard. Inside, chaos. Crews rushed to load warheads. Pilots studied Earth orbital maps. Commanders walked through dark halls with one word on their lips. Cleansing. Rourke moved like a shadow. He recorded every room. Every plan. Every face. But the deeper they went, the more he saw something worse. This wasn't just Vorex's plan. It was bigger. Old commanders. Black ops cells. Even scientists from the weapon labs. They were all in. This was a second Zarkari empire being born in secret. And its first act would be Earth's final day. Then, it happened. A young guard turned a corner too fast. Spotted them. The alarm screamed. Rourke swore. "Vasha, Plan B. On it." Explosions shook the ship. Sirens howled. Lights flickered. Rourke fought his way to the main core, sliding through smoke and gunfire. He reached the command hub. Slammed in the data spike. Uploaded every file. Ship layouts. Codes. Names. Launch timers. Then he pressed his wristband. Sending everything to the Queen now. The core door blasted open. Vorex himself stood there. Tall. Cold. Smiling. "I should have ended you on Varnak 7. "Yeah," Rourke said, drawing his blade. "Big mistake." The command core shook as blaster fire echoed down the halls. Smoke curled in the air. Sparks fell from the ceiling. Captain Mason Rourke stood with a pulse blade in hand, face covered in sweat and ash. Across from him, General Vorex stepped through the wreckage unburned, untouched, unfazed. His armor was black and gold. A symbol of the old empire. "Still alive," Vorex said coldly. "I'll fix that." "You talk too much," Rourke replied, tightening his grip. Without warning, Vorex struck. Faster than expected. Stronger than any human. Rourke barely blocked the first blow. Then the second one landed full force into his chest plate. Metal cracked. Rourke hit the wall hard. He coughed. Blood on his lips. But he stood. Vorex stepped forward, blade drawn. "You're just a man. A soldier playing king." "No," Rourke said. "I'm a father now." And then he charged. The fight was brutal. Rourke moved with grit. With instinct. He wasn't stronger. He wasn't faster. But he had purpose. Every strike, every dodge he fought not for survival, but for Zani, for Threx, for peace. He fought for a future. At the same time, back in the Zarkari palace, alarms screamed. Queen Tishul stood in the war room, watching live data feed in from Rourke's spike. Dozens of ships. Launch orders. Kill protocols. Earth was the target. But not the only one. He's trying to burn both worlds, she whispered. An advisor turned to her. Majesty, the council is panicking. They want you to act now. On what grounds? They say the human set this up. That he's feeding us false intel. That he's staging an attack to take the throne. That's a lie. Yes. But they don't care. Then came the message. Encrypted. From deep inside the palace walls. Someone from her inner circle. If you won't stop the human, we will. Operation Silent Chain has begun. Her breath caught. This was a coup. In the nursery wing, Zani and Threx played quietly. Then the lights went out. 6 black armored figures slipped through the hallway. Silent. Armed. No guards in sight. The lead figure raised a weapon toward the door. Back in the war room, the queen gave one order. Seal the royal nursery. Now. Too late, Majesty. They're already inside. She didn't speak. She ran. Inside the fleet command core, Rourke hit the ground, chest heaving. Vorex stood over him, blade raised. You failed. No, Rourke said, smiling with blood on his teeth. I uploaded everything. And your name's on all of it? Vorex froze. They know, General. And when I don't come back, they'll send fire. Rourke tapped his wristband. The location beacon flashed red. I hope you enjoy company. Then he closed his eyes. A second later, a flash of light lit the room. The Queen's personal strike team blinked into the hallway outside. They weren't there to negotiate. They were there to bring the Guardian home. Inside the palace nursery, the lights flickered back on. Just in time to reveal the Queen herself, wings outstretched, claws drawn. The attackers froze. They didn't expect her to come alone. They didn't expect her to come at all. But she didn't hesitate. She tore through them. Fast. Precise. Unforgiving. When it was done, her children were safe. Shaking. But unharmed. And the last traitor whispered from the floor. You trust a human over your own people. She looked down at him. No, I trust the only one who didn't lie. Rourke woke up on a medbed 3 days later. The room was quiet. The lights low. His chest was bandaged. His arm in a sling. And beside him, the Queen. Hey, he rasped. You almost died. Almost. He looked around. The kids. Safe. Thanks to you. Vorex. In chains. His fleet disarmed. His council stripped. And the palace. She hesitated. Not everyone made it. Rourke lowered his eyes. I'm sorry. You kept your promise, she said. That's more than most. Later that night, Zani crawled into his bed, curled up against his chest. Threx followed. Rourke didn't stop them. He never did. The Queen stood in the doorway, watching silently. You were never just a soldier, she whispered. You were a choice. And I chose right. The galaxy had questions. After the coup, after the attempted fleet strike, after General Vorex's arrest. Everyone wanted answers. How had a human stopped the plan? Why had the Queen protected him? And what did it mean when she gave him the life mark? Inside the Zarkari palace, Captain Mason Rourke stood in front of a tall mirror. His uniform was new. Not Earth military. Not Zarkari soldier armor. Something new. Black fabric with silver trim, lined with the Queen's crest on one shoulder and a patch sewn by hand on the other. 2 tiny alien handprints. Zani and Threx's. Outside, the courtyard filled with dignitaries, generals, and media from across the galaxy. Today was the Unity Day ceremony. The Queen would speak. And for the first time, the heirs would appear in public with their guardian beside them. Rourke took a deep breath. He could face war. He could face death. But speeches? Different kind of battle. Zani clung to his leg. Threx was chewing on a hollow recording pen. "You guys ready for this?" he asked. They chirped. One licked his hand. "I'll take that as a yes." Queen Tishel entered the room. Her robes were royal blue, something reserved for rare moments of peace. She looked at Rourke and gave a quiet nod. "They've been asking for your name all week." "I thought they knew it." "Not your Earth name. Your title. Your story." She paused. "They want to know who you are to the heirs." Rourke looked down. Zani had fallen asleep against his boot. Threx was trying to balance a data chip on his nose. He smiled. "Tell them I'm the one who didn't leave." The palace gates opened. The Queen stepped onto the high platform first. Cheers echoed across the crowd. Then silence as she raised her hand. "Today, we face forward. Not as empire and outsider. Not as conqueror and colony. Today, we are something different. We are family by bond, by choice, by fire." She turned slightly. "And this is the guardian who stood when others ran. Who protected what mattered. Who gave us more than peace. He gave us hope." She extended a hand. Rourke stepped forward. The heirs followed Zani on one arm, Threx climbing his back like a tiny dragon. The crowd gasped, then cheered. News feeds exploded across the systems. Human named guardian of royal heirs. Earth Zarkari Alliance official. Warrior or father. The truth about Captain Mason Rourke. But Rourke didn't care about the headlines. All he saw were two sleepy kids. And the Queen beside him. The one who chose trust over fear. Later, in a quiet hallway, she walked beside him. "There are whispers," she said. "Always are," he replied. "Some want to offer you a seat on the council. Not my style. Some say you should help write the peace charter. I don't do politics." She smiled slightly. "Then what do you want, Mason Rourke?" He didn't answer right away. He just looked at the stars outside the window. "A place where they can grow up safe." He looked down at the heirs, now holding hands. "And a place where I'm not just the weapon Earth made me into." The Queen turned to him. "Then help me build it?" "You sure that's a good idea? I gave you my children." "Fair point." Across the galaxy, old enemies watched in silence. The name Rourke spread in political halls. On soldier lips. In secret councils. Some saw him as a threat. Others as a symbol. But one thing was clear. The Zarkari Queen had tied her legacy to a human warrior. And the galaxy was watching. That night, back in the nursery wing, Rourke sat by the twins' bedside. Zani curled against his chest, fast asleep. Threx was snoring softly in a pile of pillows. The room was peaceful. No alarms. No explosions. No blood. Just breathing. Just warmth. He looked at the life mark on his palm. Still glowing. Still bound. He whispered to no one in particular. "I was a soldier. Now I'm something else. Let's hope I'm good at it." The shuttle doors opened with a long hiss. Earth's blue skies stretched above the capital city. Birds soared overhead. Airships floated between shining towers. Captain Mason Rourke stepped out first, wearing the same uniform he wore during Unity Day. But this time, he wasn't alone. Behind him walked Queen Tishel, regal, silent, and alert. And between them, clutching their guardians' hands, were the heirs. Zani and Threx blinked against the sunlight. Threx immediately tried to lick a passing butterfly. "Yeah," Rourke said, grinning. "Welcome to Earth." The visit had been planned for weeks. But the tension hit hard the moment their ship touched down. Earth officials lined the landing zone, expressionless. Security bots hovered overhead. And standing at the front of the human delegation was Admiral Rourke, Mason's older brother. He didn't salute. Didn't smile. He stared at the Queen. Then at the heirs. Then at his brother. "You brought them here. They're guests. They're alien royalty. They're children." Admiral Rourke turned to the Queen. "You're protected under treaty law. But don't mistake tolerance for trust." Queen T-Shul didn't blink. "I'm used to both." The next hours were cold. Meetings. Cameras. Questions with sharp edges. Some humans cheered the visit. Others protested in the streets. News headlines split down the middle. Zarkari Queen visits Earth, peace or plot. Guardian Rourke brings heirs, are we safe? In private rooms, human generals whispered. He's compromised. He's bonded to the enemy. We need contingency plans. And in the shadows, someone else watched. Someone who knew Rourke before all this. Someone who never forgave him for leaving Earth behind. That night, Rourke walked the city alone. The Queen stayed behind, meditating in the embassy. The heirs were fast asleep, curled up in a nest of human blankets and alien pillows. Rourke stood on a bridge overlooking the city skyline. Memories hit him. Old streets. Old missions. Old regrets. A voice behind him broke the silence. "Never thought I'd see you walking free." Rourke turned. A woman stepped out of the shadows. Black hair. Cold eyes. An old Earth tactical badge on her coat. Commander Illyra Voss. "I heard rumors," she said. "Didn't believe them. And now I'm looking at a soldier with alien children calling him Dad." Rourke sighed. "What do you want, Illyra?" "To remind you who you were. That man's gone. That man would have never brought royal targets to Earth." He stepped forward. "They're not targets. They're the future." "No. They're a fuse. And you lit it." The next morning, it got worse. News broke, someone hacked the human defense grid. Used Rourke's ID codes to access restricted data. Framed him. Now Earth's High Council demanded an emergency hearing. If Rourke couldn't clear his name, they'd dissolve the peace treaty and deport the Queen and her heirs. Or worse. Rourke sat in a cold steel chair, facing the full council. Earth's leaders. Military officials. Intelligence heads. All eyes on him. "You gave your personal codes to the Zarkari." "No. But the hack came from your ID. It was stolen. You admit to emotional bonds that could cloud your loyalty." He didn't answer that one. Queen T-Shul sat beside him, silent. Watching. She saw the shift in the room. They didn't want answers. They wanted an excuse. Suddenly, a voice cut through the tension. Young. High-pitched. Familiar. He didn't do it. Everyone turned. Zani stood at the door. Eyes wide. Holding a small data drive. Behind him, Threx ran in, carrying a half-chewed comms cable. "We found this under the floor." The council stared. Rourke's mouth fell open. He took the drive and plugged it into the display. Surveillance footage played. A human agent. Earthborn. Uploading Rourke's credentials. Planting the hack. The room went silent. Then exploded with noise. 2 hours later, Rourke sat on the embassy steps, the heirs asleep in his arms. The Queen stepped beside him. "Your world tried to turn on you. It wouldn't be the first time. And yet, your bond held." He looked down at the twins. Zani snored softly. Threx had a marker in one hand and a doodle on Rourke's armor. I may not be Earth's hero, Rourke said. But I know who I am now. Then it's time the galaxy knows too. The Galactic Assembly Chamber was vast. 12,000 beings. Over 500 species. Each one watching. Each one waiting. At the center stood Queen Tishal, tall and still. Beside her stood Captain Mason Rourke, wearing his custom uniform black and silver, life mark glowing softly on his palm. And in his arms Zani and Threx, dressed in ceremonial silk, sleepy but proud. Today was not about speeches. It was about judgment. The Queen had made a bold request. Recognize humanity as more than a rogue species. Recognize them as trusted partners in the galactic order. And her proof? The man standing beside her. A human soldier who had protected her heirs. Who had stopped a war from the inside. Who had chosen peace, when vengeance would have been easier. The assembly speaker, a crystalline being shaped like a spiral, hovered forward. Captain Rourke, it said, voice echoing through the air. Do you stand by the Zarkari Queen's petition? Rourke stepped forward. Yes. Even after Earth tried to disown you. Especially after that. Why? He looked at the crowd. Alien faces. Strange eyes. Judging. Measuring. Then he looked down at the two small hands gripping his armor. He answered quietly. Because family doesn't end at blood. Murmurs rippled across the chamber. Some delegates nodded. Some looked confused. Others, angry. One rose from the floor, a lizard-skinned diplomat with sharp teeth. And what are you now, human? A soldier? A spy? A symbol? Rourke held the gaze without blinking. None of those. Then what are you? He turned to the Queen. To the heirs. And then back to the crowd. I'm the one who stayed. Silence. The speaker rose again. Then let the record show. By royal decree and galactic charter. Mason Rourke is recognized not only as guardian of the Zarkari heirs, but as the first human to be granted cross-species noble status in the Galactic Union. Gasps. Cheers from some corners. Rage from others. But it was done. The vote passed. By a single margin. Later, in a quiet chamber, the Queen poured 2 cups of steaming blue liquid. Rourke sat across from her, finally alone. You didn't have to speak, she said. I did. You risked everything. I already had everything. He looked down at the life mark. Still glowing. And you still have a choice, she said. You can return to Earth. Now with honor. With power. They'll welcome you this time. Rourke stood. He walked to the window. Watched 2 moons rise over the edge of the galactic city. I've had enough of running home to places that never wanted me. He turned to her. My place is with them. Zani ran in just then, followed by Threx. They squealed, laughing, and wrapped around his legs. Your place, the Queen said, watching with quiet pride, is no longer beside them. It's with them. Months passed. Then years. The story of the human who saved the heirs spread through systems like legend. Children learned his name in school. Soldiers used it as a call sign when holding the line. Be like Rourke. Guard what matters. And in the palace, he became more than guardian. He became father. One day, Threx asked a question while sitting on his shoulders. What were you before us? Rourke smiled. A weapon. What are you now? He thought for a moment. I'm your safe place. Zani leaned over, curious. Is that your real name? He looked at them. Then at the Queen, who watched quietly nearby. He took a breath. No. Then what is? He whispered it gently. Call me home. The end.